Hi, I'm MJ from Linus Publications, and today we're going to look at the leader of China's charts. And we're going to be looking at primarily the transit chart and also the solar arc. The progression is not really showing much. I might flip through that one quickly. Now, the reason we're looking at his chart is that he recently had a summit in China. And he had India there, and India left, and then he had other leaders come in. So he had Putin come in, and he also had the leader of North Korea, along with many other nations. So this is a step towards bringing China out onto a different position on the world stage. So we'll see what comes of this. Now, this is sort of an affront to Trump, and Trump did make a social media post about him conspiring behind the U.S.'s back. So Trump is not totally pleased with this, especially since Putin had met with Trump a little while ago, and that doesn't seem to have made any progress at all. So we're going to look at first in the leader of China's chart. We have approximately 8:15, we had Saturn squaring his Mars. And in this case, Saturn is restriction, Mars is action. In effect, his action, his ability to do things, Saturn squaring that indicates that he's restricted. So he's trying to find some way or some action he can do. Now, we also have on 822, Jupiter is conjuncting Mercury. And 822 would have been right before all this summit stuff was coming about. So this would have had to do with the summit, creating this, getting everything ready. So his mind would have been literally on the plans on this. And the Jupiter in this case is showing the expansion. So in effect, he's bringing all these countries together, and this is what he's doing. Next thing we have is Jupiter conjuncting Uranus. So we can, and this is happening 828. So we can expect that maybe this is going to come out with some different unique things, ideas, maybe some revolutionary thoughts, innovative things that they can follow up on. So as a whole, this is saying, yeah, this is probably pretty good for China. Maybe they can make different, trade partners, maybe get technology in other places. Now, the next thing we have, and this is around the middle of November on the 14th, we have Neptune coming up and squaring Mars. In this case, Neptune is, in effect, illusion, sometimes your idealism, what you want. And in this case, squaring Mars is showing stress. It's not bringing out the best of Neptune or the best of Mars. So he's not able to come out from this to get what he wants or to act in the way he wants. So this is, I think, significant in that, especially he had the Saturn squaring that position and now Neptune. So he doesn't have, in effect, he was restricted from getting what he wants. And again, the Neptune is saying there's probably some fallacy in that he's thinking that he can get something. Now, later in 917, we have Jupiter coming up to square Saturn, and then a few days later on 921, it's going to square Neptune. So in this case, Jupiter is expansion. And when it's squaring Saturn, Saturn is, in this case, restriction. So neither one of these are able to, in his life, move ahead. He's not going to be able to expand. In fact, he's probably going to be restricting things. Things that he hoped to be able to do, he's not going to be able to do. Same thing with the Neptune coming in, and that also squaring Saturn is saying the same type of thing. He's not going to be able to move in the direction, and this is likely idealism. It's a square, so we're getting some fogginess here, some uncertainty. And Saturn is also in his chart, it would be his authority as a leader. of this country. So I don't want to say we're getting some fogginess about his leadership, but maybe where his leadership is going. So maybe he wants to move that to a different level. And there have been notes of that in that meeting. They're looking at more of a sort of like many global leaders rather than the United States. And frankly, the United States is sort of coming down from that peg. I don't think the rest of the world is sort of saying the United States is a world leader anymore. So it's going to be bringing up many other countries as leaders. Now, when we look at the progression, and the transit does have Pluto that it's going to be making an inconjunct, but that's a little too far out, so we don't want to talk about it now. But that will be important. When we look at the progression, we do have Mercury making a conjunction, or excuse me, it did make a conjunction to Pluto. So this can be important in that he's thinking a lot of thoughts here, a lot of plan on, in effect, taking control. So that Pluto is the control, the manipulation. Now, we don't have a time of birth for him, so I can't take it past, in effect, just the basic meanings of the planets here. Now, when we look at the solar arc, what we're seeing here is we've got Pluto trine Mars. And that's not happening till spring of next year. But Pluto is what? The power, control, manipulation on his actions. So this is probably time when he's going to be making some definite concrete steps in taking a more control. It's a trine, so I'm not expecting anything that is very tense happening. Now, I am going to be checking Taiwan's chart just to make sure, because I'm thinking that this is likely maybe in, getting power in a planning stage and moving to act, and it could be in his country, but there's nothing to say that it's not outside his country either. Now, the next thing we have is Neptune posing Mars. And that's going to be happening around June 7th of 96. By the way, that Pluto trine Mars, was happening in May 18th of next year. When we have Neptune opposing Mars, we have unrealistic ideas that we want to push and aggressively push for. So this is a little daunting in that this could indicate that he's moving towards some idealistic achievement. And this, since it involves Mars, it could be through a use of force. Now, next thing we have is Saturn opposing Mars. Saturn is restriction since, again, it's a difficult angle, so it's not bringing out the best. And it's against Mars, which is aggression. And Saturn here is trying to restrict Mars, in effect, trying to tap it down, trying to focus it, but Mars won't be focused. So this is aggressive, maybe irrational behavior. Now, that's happening around 1/11 of 2027. And again, the dates are approximate because we don't have a time of birth. So next year will be an interesting period to watch with China, especially with the leader. Now, we'll also be doing China's charts, so we'll see how that comes up with these other things that are in the leader's chart. I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and have a great evening. Bye now.